The swimming pool at Oak Valley Public School in Marietta's suburbs wasn't just a training facility. It functioned as a social hierarchy carefully guarded not by faculty or staff, but by a group of privileged students who acted like they owned the water. These weren't ordinary kids. Landon Green, Chase Whitmore, and Ryan Denton came from families of attorneys, property developers, and politicians, young men raised to believe everything around them was theirs to claim or dominate. For years they'd controlled the pool like their personal domain, dictating who could swim, who couldn't, and when. If your family didn't drive luxury vehicles or hold positions on the school board, you'd better find somewhere else to practice your swimming techniques. So when Maya Ellis stepped into the aquatic center that Thursday morning, a new student, with a radiant smile, copper-hued skin, and long box braids, everyone turned to look. She had recently transferred from an Atlanta charter school after earning a scholarship for her outstanding performance in both academics and athletics. Swimming was her passion, her escape. She wasn't looking to create social disruption, just to swim. But Oak Valley wasn't prepared for her arrival. She appeared in a pristine navy blue swimsuit, with her name embroidered in gold and goggles looped around her wrist. She had barely touched the tile floor when Landon intercepted her near the locker entrance. "Hold up! This isn't open swim time, new girl," he remarked with a smile that had turned sour. "I'm here for the scheduled 10 a.m. training session." Maya responded with composure. "Coach Brennan provided me with the timetable." Ryan slouched against the railing, smirking. "Didn't know they were letting just anybody in now. This facility has, standards." Maya didn't waver. "Good. I exceed them." Several students nearby suppressed their laughter. Some turned away while others continued watching. The situation was immediately clear. Oak Valley operated on a strict social hierarchy, and Maya had just disrupted it simply by walking in. Maya moved past them toward the bleachers to place her towel down. She disregarded their comments, but what happened the following day couldn't be ignored. The next morning, arriving early again to practice, she detected a sharp, caustic odor hanging over the pool. Chlorine, but much too concentrated. She paused. Other swimmers already in the water were scratching their arms or rubbing their eyes. Someone coughed. Within minutes, Coach Brennan rushed out, blew his whistle forcefully, and commanded everyone out of the water. Emergency services were called. The school custodian arrived hurriedly to test the pool. His expression grew grim. "Someone poured floor-stripping solvent into the filters," he announced. "This pool's closed until further notice." Several students had developed rashes. Others complained of burning eyes. Nothing life-threatening, thankfully, but enough to cause alarm. The news spread rapidly. In the distant corner, Maya noticed the same 3 boys leaning against the vending machine, snickering and whispering like they'd just executed a prank. Landon caught her gaze and offered a smug shrug. This was no coincidence. Later, she overheard them near the lockers. "No swim team means no crowd, which means the pool is all ours tomorrow," Landon said. "Finally," Ryan snorted. "Let them scratch. Maybe next time they'll get the message." Maya walked past them silently, but her hands clenched into fists inside her jacket pocket. That night, while most students were streaming shows or posting selfies online, Maya was conducting research. She didn't believe in violence, but she believed in justice. At 10:43 p.m., she slipped out to the school's back fence, hood drawn tight, backpack hanging low. She'd been quiet throughout her life. Tonight, she wasn't quiet. She was methodical. In her hand was a small container of photoreactive dye ordered online by her older cousin, a chemistry major at Georgia State. Completely legal, entirely harmless. But when exposed to sunlight after mixing with chlorinated water, it triggered a reaction that colored human skin a fluorescent green, the perfect marker. With quick, practiced movements, Maya unscrewed the filtration access cover, emptied the vial into the intake valve, replaced the cover, and disappeared into the shadows. Nobody witnessed her actions, not even the security cameras, because she knew they'd been mysteriously damaged the previous week. Friday dawned hot and clear. At precisely 7:50 a.m., Landon, Chase, and Ryan strutted onto the pool deck wearing brand-new swim trunks, laughing, tossing towels, ready to enjoy their exclusive morning swim. They had the pool to themselves, or so they thought. They dove in, splashing, shouting, pretending to race each other. The water appeared normal, clear, glimmering under the skylight. But the moment they climbed out 20 minutes later, still dripping, and high-fiving, students arriving early for first period froze in their tracks. The boys' skin had begun to turn a bizarre, unmistakable shade of green. Not subtle, not faint, bright alien green. Initially Landon laughed, assuming it was just the lighting, but then he examined his arms, his chest, his face. "What the hell?" he gasped. Ryan touched his neck. Bro, what is this?" Panic erupted. Phones captured photos. Some students burst into laughter. Others backed away. One girl screamed. Chase ran to the locker room mirror and let out a howl. Within 15 minutes, all 3 boys were being escorted to the nurse's office, their green skin visible through their white t-shirts, the dye impossible to wash off for at least 48 hours. Maya observed from the second-floor corridor, a subtle smile tugging at the corner of her mouth. She didn't need to say anything. She didn't need to point fingers. The color spoke volumes. By the start of second period, the entire school had heard about what someone had already dubbed the Incredible Hulk incident online. Photos were circulating rapidly, close-ups of Landon's green-streaked face, Chase's stained hairline, Ryan's neon hands clutching a paper towel in panic. Several creative students had even launched a meme account titled Oak Valley Mutants, gaining followers by the minute. The administration attempted to contain the situation, but it was too late. Word had already reached neighboring schools. By noon, the incident was trending on local social media feeds with captions like, "Don't mess with Maya's pool." Of course, nobody could prove who was responsible. The official explanation was that a harmless chemical imbalance had caused a reactive tint due to temperature exposure. But the pool was closed again, this time indefinitely. Maya sat at her lunch table, quietly eating her sandwich, pretending not to notice the curious glances directed her way. Some were admiring, some confused. A few were fearful. She didn't care. She wasn't there to make friends. She was there to swim. But now the pool, her sanctuary, had become both a crime scene and a joke. That was the aspect that hurt most. Not the attention, not the drama, but losing the one place where everything in her world used to feel peaceful and balanced. Coach Brennan found her after class that afternoon and walked with her across the courtyard. He didn't say much initially, just chewed the inside of his cheek as he always did when troubled by something. Finally, he stopped and looked at her. "You're not in trouble," he said carefully. "No one saw anything, and even if they did, there's no rule against pool-safe dye. At least not yet." Maya raised an eyebrow. She hadn't admitted anything, but he was perceptive. She appreciated that about him. "But Maya," he continued, "this team needs you, and if we're going to keep swimming, we'll have to do it differently now. No more home practice. The district says Oak Valley's pool is off-limits until they complete a full systems flush. 2 weeks minimum." Maya's heart sank. "So what now?" she asked. He took a deep breath. "We relocate. South Cobb Aquatic Center has offered their lanes. We'll practice there until this situation blows over. I've already made arrangements. But Maya, be prepared. Some parents are angry. You embarrassed their children. They're looking for someone to blame. And you're new. You're an easy target." School bullies dump chemicals in the pool. 30 minutes later, a black girl taught them a lesson they'd never forget. He didn't need to elaborate further. Maya understood. This went deeper than swim meets, deeper than chlorine or chemicals. This was about control, about who was allowed to feel comfortable, who was permitted to belong. That evening at home, Maya sat by the window with her journal open, watching the street lights flicker against the driveway. Her mother entered carrying 2 mugs of peppermint tea and sat beside her. "Quiet night," Tanya said softly, handing Maya a cup. Maya nodded. "Everyone's talking. They know it was me." Tanya didn't flinch. "And do you regret it?" Maya was silent for a moment. No, she finally answered. But I didn't expect it to feel like this. I thought I'd feel powerful, but it just feels complicated. Tanya smiled faintly. Justice usually is. That's why so many people avoid it. Maya rested her head on her mother's shoulder. I don't want to be the villain, Mom. Tanya stroked Maya's braid. You're not. You're just a girl who said no. A little. Louder than people are accustomed to hearing it. The next morning, Coach Brennan's car pulled up in front of her house at 6:45 sharp. Maya hopped into the back seat, her duffel bag slung across her chest. South Cobb Aquatic Center was less bustling than Oak Valley, but it was clean and well illuminated, and the staff greeted the team courteously, though with some curiosity, as the swimmers changed into their gear. Maya noticed Landon and his friends standing near the lockers, their typical swagger subdued, their eyes darting toward her, not with mockery but with tension. The green dye had mostly faded, but the embarrassment hadn't. She could sense it clinging to them like damp towels. When the coach blew his whistle, the team lined up for warm-ups. Maya slid into lane 3, ignoring the whispers. She was there to swim, but midway through her third lap, she noticed something unusual. Ryan was observing her stroke intently, too intently, as if trying to decipher how she moved so effortlessly through the water. When she surfaced at the wall, she caught Landon staring too, not with contempt, but with calculation. After practice, as she wrapped a towel around her waist and headed to the benches, Chase approached her near the vending machines. He stood awkwardly for a moment, then cleared his throat. Look, about everything, he began. Maya turned slowly. Everything? He nodded, rubbing the back of his neck. Yeah, I mean, we were jerks. You didn't deserve that. None of it. She studied him for a long moment. Why are you telling me this now? He hesitated. Because no one ever made us look like fools before. You did, without saying a word. That kind of messes with a guy. Maya tilted her head. If you're expecting me to forgive you, I'm not there yet. He raised his hands. I get it. Just figured it was worth saying. As he turned to leave, Maya called after him. You know why it worked? Chase paused. She stepped forward. Because you assumed no one would fight back. That your name, your house, your daddy's money could make you untouchable. But the thing about power, Chase, is that when you use it to hurt people, it eventually comes back around. That afternoon, the coach announced the roster for regional qualifiers. Maya's name topped the list. Not a surprise. What was surprising was Landon's name listed as her backup relay teammate. The room went silent when it was read aloud. Maya didn't object. She just nodded. She knew this wasn't over, not by a long shot. People like Landon didn't take public humiliation lightly. But she wasn't afraid. She'd already shown them once, and if necessary, she would do it again. By the end of the week, rumors circulated that the superintendent had received a phone call from one of the parents threatening legal action, but nothing materialized. No one wanted to be the parent defending boys who had poisoned the pool. In the hallways, Maya noticed fewer stares, fewer whispers. Some students even smiled at her now. Not everyone, but enough. And when she passed the trophy case outside the gym, she noticed the school's swim record board had a new name etched into the 50-meter freestyle spot. Maya Ellis, 002788. She smiled, slightly, then continued to class, because now everyone knew. She didn't ask for permission. She earned her lane. The morning of regionals arrived under a pale Georgia sun, its gentle light stretching across the windows of South Cobb Aquatic Center. Like a quiet promise, Maya stood at the edge of lane 5, her heart steady but alert, her muscles warm and taut beneath her suit. The bleachers hummed with conversation. Parents clutched coffee cups and clipboards, and the other schools' teams huddled together, laughing, adjusting goggles, stretching. Oak Valley had arrived early, their uniforms crisp, but their energy unusually subdued. This wasn't just another swim meet. It was a test of equilibrium, of resilience, of who could maintain their dignity when the crowd wasn't necessarily eager to cheer for them. Maya was accustomed to that kind of silence. She didn't need applause. What she needed, what she had always needed, was the water. It understood her in ways the world never could. As she stepped onto the starting block, she glanced to her left and saw Landon standing at the anchor position in the relay lane. He had been mostly quiet during warm-ups. Not rude, not smug, just observing, watching. She could tell something had shifted in him, though she wasn't naive enough to call it transformation. Growth, maybe. Awareness, perhaps. But trust? That would require more than a single conversation and a few bruised egos. The whistle blew. Maya adjusted her goggles and took her mark. The water embraced her cleanly, smoothly, and sharply as she propelled forward, arms churning, legs driving her, through the lane like a force of nature. The crowd faded away. The past month vanished. No bullies, no green dye, no whispered names, just movement, breath, silence, rhythm. When she touched the wall and pulled herself up, the clock confirmed it. Personal best, and not just hers. Oak Valley was advancing to the finals. Hours passed. In a whirlwind of events, heats, rest breaks, and water bottle refills. The relay was scheduled, last as always, and Coach Brennan gathered the team near the lockers before the final call. His voice was steady but firm. This is a team race. Whatever happened before today is about how we finish together. Maya, you're leading us off. Landon, you're closing. You two are the bookends of this race. Make it count. Maya nodded. Landon remained silent, but there was a subtle tension in his jaw suggesting he took the message seriously. The whistle sounded. Maya stepped onto the block again. The crowd was louder now. The race mattered. It wasn't just about pride. It was about points. Schools competed for rankings. Scouts watched from the upper rows. Everything felt more intense. She exhaled slowly, then dove. The water enveloped her like a ribbon of electricity. She pushed hard, harder than that morning, harder than the previous day. She didn't just swim for herself, she swam for every time someone had dismissed her, for every time they called her too bold or too different or too much. She swam for her mother, who sat alone in the bleachers wearing her best blouse, clutching her purse like a shield. She swam because nothing had ever been handed to her. Every second was earned. She touched the wall and passed the lane to the next swimmer, then the next. Oak Valley held second place, just behind Brentwood Prep, the team that had mocked their uniforms during warm-ups. Then came the final handoff. Landon jumped in. The crowd leaned forward. The water surged. For a moment, it seemed Brentwood's anchor swimmer had victory secured. But Landon's form was disciplined, clean, powerful, swift. He reclaimed ground with each stroke. Then in the final 5 meters, something clicked. He pushed harder, gritted his teeth, and when his hand slammed against the wall, the scoreboard froze. Oak Valley, 141-33. First place. The crowd erupted. Maya felt the roar hit her chest like a wave. Some applauded, others simply stared. She didn't care. Landon pulled himself from the water, coughing, grinning, exhausted. Coach Brennan rushed forward, shouting, "Congratulations!" Teammates cheered, but Maya stood motionless at the lane's edge, dripping and quiet, allowing everything to sink in like rain on parched earth. Landon approached her slowly. No grand gesture, no dramatic apology, just a quiet nod. "You were right," he said. "About power." She studied him, arms crossed over her towel. "What changed?" He glanced around at the celebrating crowd. "I guess getting humbled in public will do that to a guy." Maya raised an eyebrow. "So now what? We just pretend everything's fine?" He shook his head. "No, but maybe we build something better than what it was." She didn't smile, but she didn't walk away either. Later that night, Maya sat on her home's back patio, legs tucked under her, wrapped in a soft blanket. Tanya came out with a slice of pound cake and placed it beside her. "Your coach called," she said softly. "You've got college scouts asking about you already. He wants to start preparing videos." Maya didn't respond immediately. She gazed up at the stars, her breathing slowing, muscles still humming from the day's exertion. "They don't intimidate me anymore," she whispered. "The boys who think they own everything. I see right through them now." Tanya nodded. "That's because they never truly frightened you, Maya. What you were feeling wasn't fear. It was fire. You just had to find the right match." Maya looked at her mother, then at the shimmering surface of their backyard pool. "I didn't want to burn everything down," she said. "I just wanted to swim." Tanya smiled gently. "You accomplished both." The next morning, the competition photos appeared on the school's digital board, Maya's name again at the top. But what mattered more were the new voices, students she'd never spoken to congratulating her in the hallway, underclassmen whispering her name with reverence, a teacher asking if she'd consider mentoring the junior swimmers. She hadn't changed, but the narrative about her had evolved. Not because she played the victim, not because she shouted the loudest, but because she stood her ground. She endured the storm and waited for the dust to settle, and when it did, she remained standing, stronger, wiser, unshaken. As for Landon, Chase, and Ryan, they never attempted to control the pool again. Rumor suggested they still couldn't shake the memory of their green-stained limbs. But Maya never mentioned it. She didn't need to. Sometimes the most effective response isn't loud or cruel. It's watching those who tried to shame you carry the weight of their own actions while you continue moving forward with your head held high. Maya never looked backward. Greater challenges awaited her, deeper waters. And this time, no one would question whether she belonged, because now they all understood. She didn't request permission. She earned her lane,